So, everyone remember a paper plane? You know, you'd make them, fly them in school, in classrooms and hallways, maybe. Well, a lot of people don't know, but when you make a paper airplane, you're doing a process called origami, which is the Japanese art of paper folding. And anyone who's familiar with that would know there is an astounding amount of things that you can make by simply folding paper. One example everyone might be familiar with is the paper crane. It's almost the poster child for origami, and you see them everywhere. But something also simple like the plane might be a boat. You could actually fold this, float it in water, though you might choose to make it out of something like wax paper rather than printer paper, so it would hold up for a lot longer. But when it comes to origami, where would you begin? Well, a lot of origami actually starts with a squarish sheet of paper, though official origami paper is 6 by 6 centimeters squared and often has one side that's colored and the other is white. This is just a sheet of printer paper, but there's also a trick that you can use to get a sheet of printer paper into a square for origami. And that would be, you'd take the top edge, a short edge, and you'd fold it down along a side edge, which would leave you with a little bit at the bottom that you would then fold up and over. And if you took some scissors to that edge, or another tip, you could lick it like an envelope and it would actually tear. It would leave you with a square sheet of paper. There's also a number of different folds that correspond with origami based on the colored side of the paper. If you had the top side colored and the fold was going down, like so, you would have what would be called a mountain fold, because it makes a mountain. Also, if you were to fold down with the colored side still at the top, that would be called a valley fold. But the easiest way to explain that would be to make something. So, I've prepared this. It's a pre-folded sheet of paper just to make the demonstration a bit easier. And I've also scribbled on one side to show the colored side, because for this project that would be important. But you'd start with your square sheet of paper, and you would fold one corner to the opposite corner, like so, making a triangle. And you'd unfold it and do the same for the other two corners, making that. Unfolding that, you'd flip the paper over, and instead of folding the corners together, you'd simply fold edge to edge, like so, unfolding, turning it, and doing it the other way as well. And what you'd be left with is a pattern that, if you folded it just right, you could get a shape sort of like this. The edge doesn't want to go on that side. There we go. So you'd have another triangle, but you'd have each side would have 4 different flaps coming off of it. And what you do is you notice that the colored side of the paper is still showing versus the white side that would be inside. And you take these, you take the front flap and fold it up like so. Something like that would be called a valley fold, because you're folding down on the colored side. You do that on the opposite side as well, and for each and every one of the folds, the flaps. And after you've come up with this, another smaller square, but held up like this, you take these corners and you'd fold them into the center like that. Once again, you do that for each of them, and that would leave you with a sort of gem shape, is what I like to call it. Now you'll notice on the bottom here, there's just two spaces, that there's no flaps, whereas on the top, you can see that there's some flaps that you can fold down. Normally, of course, they'd be up against the paper. You take them, and there's, in the flaps that you made, there's a hole. You wouldn't fold it behind in here, but there's a hole that you would take the top and fold that into it. And you do that for each one. Leaving you something like this. As you can see, they're folded not underneath, but inside. And at the bottom, you'll notice that there's a hole in the center here. So what you could do is take that, blow into it, and you'd have an origami balloon.